Hey guys, it's Size. On one of my previous videos, I had a question from Ruel asking if Mind Spike would be a viable filler instead of Mind Flay now, that it doesn't eat up your dots, whether it's on a proc or a hard cast. So I decided just to go to the dummies on a fresh 70, test out the damage difference between a Mind Spike build and a Mind Flay build. This is the talent tree that I've decided to go. So we've actively avoided anything that empowers Mind Flay or anything that adds to the damage. So we're not playing Mind Flay Insanity. We are playing Malediction for the Void Torrent damage, as it's not just about the Mind Spike. You want to be filling in with Void Torrents, your Mind Blast. There are some occasions where I Mind Flay as well, but that's purely just as a filler because it feels horrible just sitting there waiting for Mind Blast to come off cooldown. We are playing Dark Ascension alongside its counterpart Ancient Madness, so we have that increased critical strike damage. So when we're coming up to a 3-stack Search of Darkness Mind Blast, we want to pop Dark Ascension and make sure we're getting the full use of that 25% increased base damage and the 20% crit. We will see on the logs later, it's a massive chunk of damage. The crit rating is quite high just through Search of Darkness, dealing the 50% increased damage, and the Mind Melt increasing its critical strike damage by 50%, stacking up to 2 times. It's pretty much 100% chance to crit, on top of the fact that it's going to be doing 25% more damage. So you will see on the Warcraftlogs, Mind Blast is hitting up to 40, 50, 60k on a 3-stack Surge of Darkness. The only thing that I will say, it felt somewhat clunky on the times where you are waiting for Mind Blast to come off cooldown. With gear, with haste, I don't think it'll be an issue, especially when you are doing this in a raid encounter and you are using Mind Flay as a filler as well. You're going to be getting the Mind Spike procs, so you're not going to be waiting for as long, and you will have movement to do. So by the time you've got 3 stacks of Surge Darkness, you've moved for a boss ability, you will have Mind Blast available again. And I did try to line up the 3-stack Surge of Darkness with Dark Ascension. It wasn't always doable. It's a 3-minute combat log. Thereabouts, let's say maybe a bit longer, a little bit less. So we are getting 2 Dark Ascensions, 2 PIs, and I thought it was just fair to try and make sure we're getting the 2 for each build, just so we get an actual insight of what CDs affect it, and people can't say, oh, you know, you had PI for one of the runs and not the other one, because I do understand it does make a difference. You know, it's a lot of haste to miss out on. I've been actively avoiding Void Eruption on the beta. I have tested it. It just feels awkward. You've got Void Torrent now, you've got Shadow Crash, you've got Mind Flay, you've got Shadow Fiend, Dark Ascension if you're not playing Void Eruption. There's quite a few buttons to press. We are somewhat GCD locked on some occasions when you've got your Mind Spike procs. You know, let's say you get a Mind Sears proc if you're playing Mind Devourer. It's a lot of abilities, and then to add Void Bolt back into it when it's not doing a lot of damage, it's just there purely just to extend dots. It feels rough. There's too many buttons to press. I can't fathom playing it happily and pushing myself and stressing myself to make sure that all these procs are getting used up and I'm not overcapping Insanity, all my dots are staying up. It's going to be rough, especially on live when you've got more haste and the rotation feels quicker and quicker. It is just too much to keep on top of. It doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how long you've been playing Priest for, it's going to be rough. So coming up in a second, we're going to have a look at the Warcraftlogs damage breakdown. We're going to have a look at what it did. I've got details up on the screen quickly here. It's a lot of damage. It does more damage than the Mind Blast. Obviously there's going to be over double the casts, but it's decent damage. You know, it's crit for 33k, 35k, and that's going to be scaling up on live when you have X amount of crit versus mastery. It felt okay. It did feel weird because in a raid encounter where there's other targets that you're going to be dotting, you're going to want to prioritize them, so that you're getting the Surge of Darkness procs. But overall, it didn't feel bad. It kind of took me back to Hellfire Citadel, like the end of WoD, where Mind Spike was a full build. You know, you'd spam Mind Spike on the boss because the bosses were dying so quick. But you're not losing out on the dots now, which is nice. In the previous build, it would eat up your dots. I'm so glad they've fixed that. It was a bug at first, and now they've just took it out with the talent completely. You know, it doesn't eat up dots on a hard cast or a proc, which is lovely. It makes it feel so much nicer. I was playing the thing from Beyond on this, so I was playing Idler Yogg-Saron, but it's not showing on the damage meters. It's a buggy spell. It doesn't do a lot of damage anyway, but I needed to fill in a capstone. But regardless, you won't see it on Warcraftlogs. I just thought I'd give that little disclaimer. So here we are coming onto the Warcraftlogs. The target dummy takes into account everybody that was hitting it, so I have just had to cut it down a little bit. But as you can see, the damage is there. Mind Spike is a viable form of damage. You know, we had quite a lot of casts throughout the 3-minute encounter. The crit percentage on Mind Blast is crazy. That's just through the talents. You can gain that regardless of what build you pay, as long as you've got Mind Melt up. And I think that will just be a required talent going forward. It's too much damage to miss out on. Your Mind Blast will always crit. It's really nice to have. So just sifting through the abilities, you can see I had Mind Spike, Mind Blast, Devouring Plague, just so we didn't cap on Insanity. Void Torrent did get cast. It felt okay. There were some times where I did cap on Insanity, so I wasn't min-maxing it. I was just focused on making sure that my Mind Blast had 3 stacks going into every single cast. But over a 3-minute fight, it's a decent chunk of damage. You know, Mind Blast and Mind Spike actively doing 480k damage each. And then you've got Devouring Plague, which is just your spender, doing another 450k. I'm happy with it. It felt weird. Like I said, it's a throwback to Warlords of Draenor, where the Mind Spike build was real. But that was because boss fights were dying so quick. Might be the case again in Dragonflight. You know, if they get to the end of a tier and a boss is melting, you might just want to stand still. Now that you've got gear, you're not going to get one shot by abilities. You just want to spam Mind Spike into the boss. I think that'll be okay. Depends on what the bosses are, how they're scaled, what my ability's like. But it felt nice to just stand at a target dummy and do it anyway. But, of course, that is subject to change. Going into the second build, this was just the normal Mind Flay build as a filler. I have took Mind Flay Insanity here. I've took anything that'll buff Mind Flay. I do still have Mind Spike in the rotation because it's too much damage to miss up on, and you can't really go anywhere else with it. I think you'll always be playing Mind Spike, providing you're playing Surge of Darkness for the procs. I took away Thing from Beyond because it wasn't showing up on Warcraftlogs anyway. I did also get rid of the bottom right talent Malediction. I did keep Void Torrent, but Malediction, it's not needed. At least not now, when you've got so many fillers already. You know, you've got your Mind Spike procs, your Mind Blast procs, Devouring Plague. It's a lot to do and maintain on doing Void Torrent every 30 seconds. You'd be signing yourself up to being forced to press it regardless of the situation, because if you're holding on to it, you're losing out on a lot of damage. I do also think you're going to want to be pairing up Dark Ascension with Void Torrent. It was a mistake that I made here. I should have used it on the pull right after using it, but I didn't. I'm not so focused on the Mind Spike procs in this run because I do want to be making the most of Mind Flay Insanity, as it does a decent bit of damage. It replaces Mind Flay, and it gives you more Insanity to go on. So your rotation feels a bit more fluid. You know, you're going to be getting back up to that 50 Insanity to make sure that you're able to use Devouring Plague. And again, I wasn't focusing on getting 3 stacks of Surge of Darkness in this build. I was just sending Mind Blast when it was available, just so it's on cooldown. Divine Star got a bit more usage in this test than the other one. It's just because I remembered to press it more. In the other build, I was just trying to get out Mind Spike, Mind Spike, Mind Spike. But even then, with this build, as you can see, the priority isn't on Mind Flay. I wish it was, but there's too much to press. There's too much going on. And if you use Devouring Plague, and you've got a 2-second window to Mind Flay Insanity over Mind Flay, if you've got to spend more Insanity, you know, you've got to send Devouring Plague, you've got a Mind Spike proc, you know, Mind Blast is a free cast. You're going to want to be getting them out instead of the Mind Flay Insanity, because it just does more damage. But it does feel like you're doing something wrong if you ignore it, because the build is based around Mind Flay Insanity. You want to get the Insanity back up, but there's too much going on. There's too many procs. It's doable, and it'll feel even better on live when you've got more gear, you've got more haste. But in general, it feels clunky. You feel like if you miss that 2-second window to Mind Flay Insanity, the build's wasted. And it might feel better in the future, regardless of any tweaks or haste gear. But we're just going to have to wait and see. It definitely felt more relaxed than the Mind Spike build, just because I was missing out on so many casts with the Mind Spike build to try and make sure that I had all 3 Surge of Darkness stacks ready for the Mind Blast. You're not tied to that here. You can just Mind Blast on cooldown, whether it's got 2 or 3 stacks. As long as it's got 2 stacks, with the buff from Mind Melt, you're getting 100% crit chance. So you're going to be critting with it regardless. So the 3rd stack isn't as required. And with Insidious Ire, which is bottom middle talent, when I have all my dots up, and including Devouring Plague, Mind Blast deals 40% more damage. So I was trying to make sure that while I had Devouring Plague up, I was Mind Blasting as well. So you'll see me uploading the log here. I'd forgot to sort all this out before, so I'm doing it on the run. Not an interesting on my PC anyway. But yeah, we'll have a quick look at this in a second as well. So again, the target dummy shows everyone, so I just go onto me quickly. I don't gain any buffs from any other classes, it's just everybody's in their individual combo log. So as you can see, same as with Mind Spike, Mind Flay Insanity takes the top spot. It was nice to have it different, like to see the change, but this build didn't do as much damage. It just wasn't there. So the main comparison that I have to take away from it is with the Mind Spike build, you're pressing it anyway, so you are doing more damage. Mind Flay didn't do any damage at all really with the Mind Spike build, but here you're actively remembering to press it. Mind Flay Insanity does really good damage, and I wasn't min-maxing either. I forgot to press it sometimes, or if I didn't press it in the 2-second window because I had a Mind Blast proc or a Mind Spike proc, I was missing out. But as you can see, in the Mind Flay Insanity build, you are still pressing Mind Spike. You've still got the Mind Spike talent, so you're still having to press it. So the damage is still there. Void Torrent doing decent damage as well. 200k for 3 casts, it's not bad at all. You can't complain, and you can see the crits that it's doing as well. It is good damage as long as you have time to press it on cooldown. Comparing the two, I'm glad that Ruel asked this question, because I originally thought that Mind Spike ate your dots still, until I looked at the notes and then I looked at the talent tooltip as well. It's nice to have an option, right? So if there are fights in the tier that allow you to stand still, and you can just spam Mind Spike alongside, you know, moving for the active mechanics. It might be a viable form of damage. It all depends on the tier sets, I guess, whether the tier set affects Mind Spike or a Spender or Mind Flay. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I'm glad I tested it, because I didn't know, right? I didn't keep track of it. But as you can see, it's a viable alternative. I'm glad that we tried it, and thank you for bringing it to my attention, Roel. Feel free to pause the video at any time, just so you can have a look at the damage breakdown yourself, have a look at the talents, and I'll be doing more comparisons like this in the future, so if there's any requests, feel free to let me know. With that, take care, and thank you for watching.
Even you have leg, man.
Did he grip you?
Man, what's leg, man?
I'm taking this.
Leg, my balls! Oh, what?